Is there free speech in Canada?
Well, we have a long tradition of free speech, but recently that's being eroded by people who are pushing a particular political agenda that has to do with radical equality, especially equality of outcome. And so, for example, in Canada now, we're increasingly compelled to use these pronouns called gender neutral pronouns, which are inventions, I think, of radical leftists.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, pronouns like ze and zer instead of referring to people as he and she. And it's part of a general assault on the idea of the differences between men and women or boys and girls.
Yeah.
The idea is that because there are a few people who believe they don't fit comfortably into the normal categories of sex, that everyone should relinquish their belief that there are differences between boys and girls or men and women and start acting as if that there's no distinction between the sexes.
Why is the difference between men and women important?
Well, I think it helps organize society. I mean, people need to know how to act. You have to have some sort of model for your behavior. And generally, girls have a female model and men have a male model. And it helps us remain predictable and desirable to one another and helps us organize our interactions.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get rid of all the roles that people play in life, then no one knows what to do. And it's not pleasant going through your life not knowing what to do, not having some kind of ideal or goal to follow. You know, typically in our society, the pattern is that you grow up and find a productive occupation that helps you survive and that you find a mate and have children. And well, that might not be ideal for everyone. It's a lot better than nothing.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a lot better than sheer chaos. And to introduce all these choices to people and to interfere with their development of a stable identity means that people won't know what to do. And then their lives get very chaotic and anxiety provoking and lack meaning.
That's for sure. Do you have a website or anything you want to give out for the folks?
Well, I can tell you about one of the programs that we've developed that you might be interested in, given your rebuilding the man focus.
Okay.
So I have a website called selfauthoring.com. It's selfauthoring, selfauthoring.com. And there's a program there called Future Authoring that helps people write out a plan for their life 3 to 5 years down the road. And so, first of all, people are asked 6 questions about how they might like their life to go. So we ask people to put themselves in a mindset of caring for themselves like they might care for someone they love. And then to think about what their life could be like if things worked out for them well 3 to 5 years down the road. And so we ask people what they would like their family life to be like, and how they would like to be employed, and what they would like their education to be, and how they would take care of their mental and physical health, and how they would handle drugs and alcohol. And then we get them to write for 15 minutes without really paying too much attention to grammar or spelling about what their ideal future would be in 3 to 5 years. And then we get them to do the opposite. We get them to imagine that their bad habits and weaknesses and faults took the upper hand and augured them into the ground, and how bad their life could be in 3 to 5 years if they let everything fall apart. And that sort of gives people a little personal heaven to aim at and a little personal hell to avoid. Because it's good to know what bad things might happen to you if you continue acting improperly.
Yeah.
And then we get people to write out a detailed plan for attaining the positive vision. And we've done that with thousands of university students now, mostly in Europe, and we've raised their grade point average 25% and dropped their dropout rate 20%. And so the program, and many thousands of people have done the program online. And so it seems to work particularly well for people who are particularly not doing very well.
Yeah.
And because many people never think about what they want in their lives, they kind of live haphazardly from day to day. And I suppose that's part of lacking principles,
Yeah.
the principles that you referred to. I see on your website that you promote work and savings and marriage and fatherhood and mentoring and giving back to your community. And those are all principles that people can use to guide their behavior, and it stabilizes them in life and protects them from despair and hatred. And
exactly. That's a good program. I hope people check it out. Self-authoring, AUTHORING.com. I want to just ask quickly, we were talking about free speech prior to the break. And are the good folks fighting back there in Canada against those who want to change the way you speak and not mention whether you're male or female? Are they fighting back?
Well, I've got a lot of letters that have supported me, but I'm not sure that people exactly know what to do. A lot of the people who are pushing this agenda have got control of school boards and departments of education and even the legislative process in many places in Canada. And so it's a lot more difficult to fight back against than you might think. It isn't clear that people know how to do it.
I mean, they just have to speak up. Don't go along with what the enemies of good want them to do. Don't speak the way they want you to speak.
Yeah, well, that's what I decided to do. I refused to use those pronouns, and that's caused a real firestorm of activity and trouble. So,
what have you gone through?
Go ahead.
What have you gone through as a result of refusing to go the way they want you to go?
Well, the university wrote me 2 letters of warning saying that my refusal to use these pronouns contravened the university's code of conduct, and also perhaps the provincial law here that requires you to use non-standard pronouns hypothetically to avoid discrimination or harassment. Yeah, but then it's been very much broadcast all over the media. My war, I suppose, with the forces that are conspiring to produce this outcome. There's been about 180 newspaper articles written about it now, and millions of people have been listening and watching on YouTube as this process unfolds. It's been very stressful, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
I've been in the middle of a media storm for about 2.5 months.
That's amazing. And how are you feeling about going through this?
Well, I would just soon have my previous life back, to tell you the truth, but it seems inevitable. I hope I can handle it. That's the main thing. It's been a lot to contend with, a tremendous lot to contend with.
Do you regret?
On the upside, I have a video channel, Jordan Peterson Videos, and I put all my course lectures there for the last few years. And on the upside, I suppose, many more people are now watching those lectures. And a lot of them have to do with principled activity. So, for example, there's one lecture that's quite popular there called One on the Distinction Between Evil and Tragedy, which I think is a useful thing for people to know. And another one that your listeners might be interested in called The Necessity of Virtue. And it's a discussion of why living a principled life is the right thing for people to do.
Yep. Dr. Peterson, do you regret taking a stand and going through what you're going through right now?
Well, I've regretted it from time to time, but I don't regret it overall. I think it was necessary. I mean, I don't want to use those words.
Yeah.
I think that it's a mistake to destabilize people's conceptions of male and female. I think that it will hurt our society much more than it will help it. I think that the people who are pushing this agenda have the destruction of Western civilization as their fundamental goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's a massive mistake. Our society has flaws, that's for sure. But if you compare it to most other societies on the planet or most other societies that have ever existed, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is warm, more or less, and everybody has enough to eat, and it's reasonably peaceful, and it's about all you can hope for if you're realistic about how things work. And all the other models that people have tried have ended in absolute catastrophe.
Yeah.